We are back with our breaking news. Former National Security Advisor and U.S. Ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, is set to plead guilty to one count of retaining classified information. That plea from one of the president's perceived political enemies comes as President Trump is set to nominate Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to his role on a permanent basis. We are monitoring Blanche and other Trump officials who are speaking out at a press conference on Medicaid fraud in Ohio. We're going to bring you any headlines from that as we get them. Meantime, let's bring in MS Now Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Delaney. And so, Ken, break down exactly what Bolton is pleading guilty to.
Alex, he is pleading guilty to a single count of retaining classified information connected, we're told, to a diary entry that he was using to prepare for his memoir. And apparently his wife and daughter had access to that information. And obviously they don't have security clearances. And so that was a violation of the law. And he's pleading guilty to resolve an 18-count indictment that, had he been convicted on any handful of those counts, would have carried decades in prison, millions of dollars in fines. The terms of his plea agreement, as we understand it, are between 0 and 60 months in prison and a $2.25 million fine. So that's a huge range, obviously, and it's going to be up to the judge to decide, you know, what the penalty will be based on previous cases. And there are parallels in history, the closest one really being David Petraeus, the former CIA director and retired general, who pleaded guilty to retaining classified information, although in his case he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor. Although the facts of the case were very similar. Petraeus had highly sensitive, highly classified information in diaries that he had at his home and other places, and that he showed to a co-author, a woman who was working on a memoir with Petraeus, and he admitted to that conduct. He pleaded guilty and served no prison time, but that was a misdemeanor. This is a felony, and some people are going to look at this and say, is that fair? But John Bolton, look, was a political enemy of the president. This is Donald Trump's Justice Department meting out this level of justice. You know, compared to what he could have faced, this is a pretty good resolution for John Bolton.
And speaking of DOJ, Ken, this comes as the president made an announcement regarding Todd Blanche last night. Here's that.
Tomorrow, I'm instructing Dan and everybody else that's involved in that very complicated process, which is going to go, I think, very quickly, that we are going to make him permanent Attorney General.
I mean, look, the president is clearly a fan, but how is Blanche perceived, inside the DOJ and on Capitol Hill? What kind of support is he going to get for this nod?
Well, Alex, just in terms of the raw politics of this, I think there are serious questions about whether Todd Blanche can be confirmed even by this Republican-controlled Senate, given that there are some senators now who are not necessarily, some Republicans who are not necessarily in Donald Trump's camp. And we saw that with the way they greeted the $1.8 billion settlement fund. You have people like John Cornyn, who once were big supporters of Donald Trump, who are now independent because he's been defeated in his primary. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of how Todd Blanche is perceived inside the Justice Department, it is hard for me to find the language to convey how disappointed, shocked, angry many career DOJ officials are about the way Todd Blanche has conducted himself. Because unlike Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche had been a federal prosecutor for 9 years in the Southern District of New York. He knows how the Justice Department is supposed to work. He knows that he's supposed to represent the citizens of the United States, not the president. And yet what they perceive is that he has done nothing but carry Donald Trump's water, done some things that are just anathema to what the Justice Department stands for, and defended it glibly in public. And it makes, frankly, it just makes a lot of people that I talk to sick to their stomachs when they hear Todd Blanche saying some of the things that he says on television, Alex.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they don't get a vote in terms of his confirmation process, but thank you very much.